Hey, thanks for joining me, Travis Johnson. Together, we are declaring truth, transforming lives, and changing the world. And today, I'm really glad to have my friend L.A. Marzulli. You got one of the coolest names. Like Marzulli is enough, but then L.A. Great. Now, of course,
Dot A dot.
but I'm L.A. also. Not like Los Angeles, but Lower Alabama.
There you go.
Anyway, man, thanks so much for being with me.
Pleasure.
Today.
Thanks for having me on. A recent clinical trial found that participants using just 10 grams of collagen a day for 8 weeks saw up to a 20% increase in skin hydration and a 17% improvement in elasticity, while visibly reducing their wrinkles. Folks, this stuff works. If you're aiming to boost skin health, collagen is a must-have. But typical collagen supplements found on store shelves don't always do the job. This is why I'm using this special blend from my friends over at BioTrust. It provides my skin with the 5 types of premium collagen it needs to help reduce wrinkles. Since taking it, I've seen smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer lines, and a more youthful glow. Plus, it mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea. I usually use it in water without anything, and I stir it up real well with one of those little automatic stirs, and it goes down the hatch, goes down the neck really quick, and it's delicious. Folks, here's the deal. Make sure to grab a bag while it's still 51% off at healthwithla.com, healthwithla.com. Plus, you'll also get a free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life and a free ebook entitled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skip, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and shipping with your order. Once again, the website, healthwithla.com, www.healthwithla.com. The link is right below. At least check it out. I use it, and I see the difference. Folks, a 60-day money-back guarantee. And just think about this. Every sale that we do, every sale that BioTrust gets, we donate a nutritious meal to a hungry child. I mean, can you even believe that? It's non-GMO and free of artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, and sweeteners, and free of gluten, antibiotics, and all sorts of other nasty stuff. There's nearly no odor or taste, unlike bone broth and other collagen supplements. There's no clumping. And I use this and absolutely no clumping. I've got one of those little battery operated stirrers, and it really works great. Anyway, folks, check it out. Go to healthwithla.com. That's healthwithla.com.
Okay, so we've spent a little bit of time here at Charisma Media on Media Day, some really great things going on, and it just had a little time to get to know each other. And I'll tell you what, man, it's just been a real joy being with you.
Likewise.
You have a magnetic personality. It's really, really easy to be around. So now you have a book that's coming out soon, The Waiting Room, and it's a novel. Just in 30 seconds.
It's the first novel in 20 years. The Lord gave me a download. I had not even thought about doing this, and I don't get downloads like every day. I mean, it doesn't happen like that. But we were driving to dinner, and all of a sudden I go, "Oh my gosh, Lord just gave me a novel." And I went home and sketched it out, and the rest is history, and it'll be out in February. And it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool.
That's pretty amazing. So you can get that on pre-order right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Charisma.
Go to charisma.com. And then, but now this is the one that you've got out right now. It's called Rungs of Disclosure. Now get ready for it, right? Following the trail of extraterrestrials and the end times. So hook me up. What do I need to know about this book?
Well, the first thing you have to know is that UFOs are real, burgeoning, and not going away. This is the coming great deception, but when we go up, they come down. When we go up, they show up. That's a mouthful. I've been studying, I'm a ufologist for decades. I've seen 4, and I don't go looking for them. I don't go looking for them. I just look up, and there they are. So I've seen 4 of them. And once you see one, it changes everything, because you're trying to fit all this into a Christian worldview. Well, how does it work? So let me just throw something at your audience real quick, because some of them are already going, why are we talking about UFOs? Because Jesus warns us it'll be like the days of Noah, the first thing. He says, even men will faint from fear from what's coming upon the earth. Even the elect would be deceived if it were possible. Paul warns us about Satan coming with all signs of lying wonders. So what's happening? What's manifesting in the skies? And that is the whole UFO, UAP phenomenon. It's now being talked about in the halls of Congress. Anna Paulina Luna, Congresswoman from South Carolina. No, I'm sorry, not there, but Anna Paulina Luna, Congresswoman, stated,
Florida.
Florida. Stated on the record with Joe Rogan recently. I mean, in the last week, I did a show on this, that, these are interdimensional entities. So what do you mean interdimensional entities? That's my worldview. These are not extraterrestrials from some faraway planet. They are interdimensional entities with a very nefarious agenda. Before you start poo-pooing this and say, well, what is the Bible doesn't talk about anything like this? Let's go into Kings. Second Kings, I think it's chapter 6, but I could be wrong, where Elijah is there surrounded by the Syrian army. That in itself is alarming. And Gehazi is basically going, we're all dead. We're going to die. And so Elisha goes, Lord, open his eyes. It boots Gehazi out of a tent. Gehazi goes out there and he's astounded at what he sees. What does he see? I looked up, and I'm quoting, and saw the chariots of fire. So remember, this is thousands of years ago. He's looking at a phenomena above the Syrian army, and all he's got in his lexicon and his verbiage is a chariot, because that's a moving vehicle.
Mhm.
That's all they have thousands of years ago. And fire, they don't have lights and anything like that. They have oil lamps and torchlight. That's it. So he looks up and he sees a chariot, because this thing is flying around over the Syrian army, and there's more than one. What the heck is that? What are chariots of fire? So the Bible, and we can tap dance around that to the cows come home and say, well, it's that. It's what it is. And that's what he saw. And that it makes us wonder, why do spiritual entities need these craft? Look, there's supernatural technology all through the Bible. We just refuse to see it. I'll just give you one example. So Adam and Eve are booted out of the garden. That's a 3-hour conversation. And the cherubim are there guarding the east gate. Well, why not the north, south, and west gates? We're not told. But inquiring minds would love to know. But the east gate is open. 2 cherubim are there. What's between the 2 cherubim? A flaming sword that turns every which way. Turn the page? No. Let's stay it there for a while. What is a flaming sword that turns every... The cherubim aren't wielding it. So a flaming sword that turns every which way. It's a lightsaber in modern day vernacular. There's technology. Think of a New Jerusalem, 1,500 miles wide. Think of the structural implications for that. Who's building that? How are they? Yeah, God can snap his fingers. I get that. But I don't think that's I think angels are building it. So the bottom line is there's technology all throughout the Bible. I just gave you 2 examples. We've got this truncated view of the supernatural, and it's problematic. So what's manifesting? If the UFO UAP phenomena was not manifesting, I'd be looking for what something else. But that's what's manifesting. And it's to the point where it's now burgeoning. People are seeing these things, lights in the sky, orbs. In fact, when I'm speaking at churches, I ask, how many of you have seen UFOs, UAPs, lights in the sky, orbs, had sleep paralysis, raise your hand. And I remember I was speaking at a church down in Daphne, Alabama, John Kilpatrick's church. And his son is in the front row, and he's thinking, he came up to me afterwards and said, I turned my, to say, I'm expecting 4 or 5 people raise their hands. It's like, 30% of the church has their hands up. He was completely dumbfounded by that. The phenomenon is real. Many people have had experiences. There's no place to go. They can't talk about it because they'll be considered a kook or crazy or whatever, and everything. Those negative innuendos towards people. But the phenomenon is real. Abductions are real. Cattle mutilations are real.
So you've addressed it scripturally.
Through a biblical lens.
Right, through a biblical lens. And now you've quoted Anna Paulina Luna, right? What does the U.S. government have to say?
Loaded question, because you've got the deep state, and you've got, outside of the elected officials, you've got a rogue element. Area 51, right, Pat. They're not accountable to anybody. As far as I know, no president has ever gone into Area 51. No sitting president that I'm aware of has ever gone to Wright-Patterson Field. That's where all the stuff is, in those 2 places. And I've stated on the record recently, they should get 500 of the best of the best of the best, split them up, 250 go to S4, Area 51, 250 go, and walk in there and go, we want to see everything. Because the American people have a right to know. Look, the halls of Congress, you have whistleblowers come forward like David Fravor, like David Grush. And Grush stated on the record, Nancy Mace, South Carolina representative, do we have crash craft? Yes, we have crash craft. Well, do we have the pilots from these craft? This is in the halls of Congress, okay? Do we have the pilots from these crash craft? David Grush looks right up at it. Yes, we do. Are they human or non-human? Biologics. They are non-human biologics. What do we do with that? What does the church do with that? Do we, like the Catholics and the Pope, well, if they're here and they're extraterrestrials, we'll baptize them. Not so fast, citizen. They have a very nefarious agenda. We have a whole film on the abduction phenomena. It's actually talked about in the Rungs of Disclosure. Brett Baer on Fox News, this is the most conservative news anchor you can possibly get anywhere. And he ran with this story that some women are being taken and they find themselves pregnant. So what do we do with that? Here's the kicker. Genesis 3:15. It's not taught in the churches. Most people don't even know what it means. You have Adam and Eve over here. They've just done the unthinkable. They've sided with the dragon. In my opinion, their DNA has changed. Sin nature is now in mankind, and we've all inherited it. Then you got the dragon over here. So you got the dragon, Adam and Eve, and then you got the pre-incarnate Jesus, pre-incarnate Christ in the garden. And he says, which in my opinion, I got this from my friend Gary Stearman, older brother, this is the gateway to the biblical prophetic narrative. Understand Genesis 3:15, Bible opens up. Don't understand Genesis 3:15, we don't understand Noah's flood, Tower of Babel, Abraham and the kings, Sodom and Gomorrah, finally the conquest of Canaan. Daniel 2:43, their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. Genesis 3:15 states this, your seed, pointing to the dragon, your seed, your offspring, will be at war at enmity with the offspring of the woman. The proto-evangelium, the one coming from the woman, will crush your head. Crush your head, you'll bruise his heel. That's the whole Bible. It's a seed war. 3 chapters later in Genesis 6, the seed war erupts. The Nephilim were on the earth. Remember, the Cephite theory, which is now taught in seminaries, wasn't invented until Julius Africanus shows up 300 years after Jesus has left the earth. When Jesus states it'll be like the days of Noah, everybody knows exactly what he's talking about. Why? Josephus tells us that the bones of the Nephilim, the giants, were openly on display in Jerusalem at the time of his writing.
That was Josephus.
That's Josephus. This is well in advance. No one knows anything about the.
So now, when you say their DNA was changed, explain that.
This is conjecture. We took on the sin nature somehow. Somehow our DNA, Adam and Eve's DNA, they're hiding from the Lord. The Lord showed me this about a year ago. They're terrified. That's why they're hiding. You don't hide unless you're terrified. They are hiding from the Lord. And they realize he's there. What have you done? And he knows exactly what they've done. They've done the unthinkable. They've taken on somehow the DNA of the dragon. I'll throw something else at you.
Okay.
This is conjecture. When you take the mark of the beast, it's the only place in all of Scripture where if you take the mark of the beast, you wind up in the lake of fire. Why is that? Because it changes your DNA. You're no longer human. Just like the Nephilim. You're no longer human. And you can't be saved. So let's say you take that mark, somehow that mark changes your DNA. Now, we're in the deep end of the pool here, folks. Hold on. People are being taken. They're being abducted. How do we know this? Years, decades of research. We are the only Christian group ever to take out an implant from a man who was abducted 40 years prior to that. And he was abducted all of his life. But at 5 years old, they took him once again, and they implanted him. We took out the implant. I believe, and we tested it at Seal Lab. So when you're scanning electron microscope, it's made out of meteorite metal. It's got double-walled carbon nanotubes. I believe they're prototypes to the mark. When the space drivers show up, they'll have this little thing and say, hey, you take this mark, you live 300 years, disease-free, it's a DNA upgrade, blah, blah, blah. Something's going on with that mark, because when you take that mark, you're no longer human. It changes your DNA. So if they didn't...
So would you draw any comparisons with mRNA?
That's part of it.
Yeah.
It's definitely part of it. Don't be messing. And this is another reason.
I mean, during 2020 or
2025.
Yeah. No,
Where are we?
during 2020, when the COVID vaccine was coming out, I always do a message series called Asking for a Friend. And so you can submit your question. It's not your question. It's somebody else. You're asking for a friend. So you can put up whatever.
I like that.
It's anonymous, and then
Right.
people vote. And whatever gets upvoted, I would preach. So it's usually like, can I drink a beer and be a Christian? Can I be gay and be a Christian? It's the regular hot sauce. Right.
Okay. Right.
But in 2020, it wasn't. In 2020, it was
Yeah,
the
I know.
COVID vax,
Right.
the mark of the beast. And what I said was, no, but you could see the rails that it would run on because the government clearly can control who buys and sells,
Right.
who,
There you
et
go.
cetera. At least that was my.
Yeah, and I concur with that. That was very alarming. This is something else because you take this mark and you're irredeemable. You cannot no longer be redeemed, and you're no longer human. It does something.
Wouldn't you say? And I guess we're kind of going to like a sidebar here, right? But would you say that after watching this psychological the human behavior, right, which human behavior is actually fairly predictable. Now we've seen what happens. People will give themselves over to totalitarian rule very easily, even in America.
Blink.
That you could say, oh yeah, I could see the world coming under control very, maybe easily is the wrong word because it would definitely be overstated. But you can see it happen.
Yeah,
you can
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. It's when we didn't take the jab. I mean, I look at it and just laugh. There's no way. Most Sundays I'm taking that stinking thing.
Hey, when I got COVID,
yeah,
which I didn't really have any symptoms,
right?
It was like very minor, but my wife just lined up all the kids and made them drink after me, so we just all got into this thing.
It's look, we are in unprecedented times. The whole UAP UFO phenomenon is everywhere. If you know where to look, the fact that Anna Paulina Luna is talking about it, Nancy Mace, you have whistleblowers coming up. David Grush, to me, that was just profound. That statement. We have the bodies, we have the pilots. So how does this work with the church? And you'll notice that right now it's all it's a dog and pony show. And finally, someone like Anna Paulina Luna talking about these are interdimensional entities. That's our wheelhouse. That's, look, all of a sudden you're into, these are not extraterrestrials, these are interdimensional beings.
So if there are extraterrestrial beings, then as a Christian, you would have to have some kind of doctrine, a theology for that, a place to put it. So just in 60 seconds.
Enrico Fermi, wonderful scientist, came up with the little quip at a lunch. If the universe is teeming with people, where is everybody? And he's right. Where the heck is everybody? I believe that we're in some sort of a holographic deck, some sort of a simulation, as it were. Jesus returns here to earth. New Jerusalem comes to earth. I don't think there's life out. I think this is it. I think this is it. I don't think there's life elsewhere, but I do believe in interdimensional entities which come in and come out. And it's a mingling of a seed. It's Genesis 3:15 on steroids. That's where we are.
So in 60 seconds, you did that. You did that. And I'm really anxious to see some of these conversations develop further. I'm looking forward to tracking along with you more.
Thank you.
I, of course, would love to hear from people in the comments because I would imagine there would be some kind of a similar engagement as at Church of the Holy Spirit, the Church of His Presence. Right there in Daphne, Patrick's. But in any time a pastor gives any kind of an altar call or asks someone to raise their hands, you kind of have to think about that, or really compel people, because a lot of times people won't respond if they're concerned about how other people feel.
Exactly.
Right. So I'd be really curious to hear in the comments, what do you think about L.A. Marzulli's thoughts on the extraterrestrial? And on UFOs. And have you ever seen one? Have you ever seen a UFO? And then, any resources? Would you recommend any resources to go and look at?
Just go to my website, lamarzulli.com. We have 10 films on the whole UFO phenomena. Everything from Close Encounters of the First, Second, Third, and Fourth Kind, abductions, crop circles, cattle mutilations, 2 films on Roswell. We also have 2 films on the Fatima apparitions. So, we are, dare I say, and I'm not boasting, it's all the Lord's doing, we're the tip of the spear. We've got 10 films. We've done the work, so you don't have to. At lamarzulli.com, lamarzulli.com.
Let me ask you one more question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Goliath, giants in the scripture. What's up with that? Where does that fit into your thought?
Genesis 3:15, seed war. That's exactly, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, also afterwards. There's a second, third, fourth, fifth incursion. They are mingling the seed. They are creating hybrid entities. Goliath was in a fixed state. There is no soul on someone like Goliath or his brothers. They're in a fixed state. But they are Nephilim. They are the progeny, the offspring of fallen angels and human women. Your seed will be at enmity. Your offspring. There it is. There it is. It's right. It's screaming at us. Not taught in the seminaries, and most Christians don't know about it. But that,
Malcolm Gladwell proposed that it was a overactive gland.
Yeah, right.
And which caused him to also have poor sight. So he had poor sight, which is why he said to David, "You come at me with sticks," but he didn't have sticks. Probably his vision was blurry or something. That's what Gladwell proposes. But I guess there would have to be some kind of explanation for his brothers.
Well, that's an anti-supernatural view. He's ignorant, with all due respect. He's ignorant of the Genesis 3:15 narrative. Your seed, your offspring. You can't do the Texas two-step around that. It is what it is. It's a seed war, and you get to Daniel 2:43. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them. Whose seed are we talking about? It's the fallen one seed. That the whole, when I was a Christian 45 years ago, I came to the Lord, and I'm reading the Bible for the first time in my life, and I get to the flood of Noah. I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
So I'm 75 now, almost. And
you're still a tender plant.
Exactly. So 45 years ago, I'm reading the Bible for the first time, and I get to the flood of Noah, and I go, wait a minute. Who is this guy? Why is he killing everybody? What's so bad? What did they do? They're polluting the DNA. They're contaminating the genome so that Messiah can't be born. It's almost checkmate except for 8 people. Think about that.
Yeah.
It's almost 8 people. And, when you read the book of Enoch, and I get that a lot of people don't want it, but Jude quotes the book of Enoch, and you don't quote something unless it's in your wheelhouse, unless you know it. Jude quotes from the book of Enoch, and Enoch says, 200 watcher angels, a category of angels, came down in the days of Jared and took wives. It's plural. It's right there. In fact, when you overlay Genesis chapter 6 with the Enoch chapter 6 to read, the verbiage is exactly alike, except the sons of God, the B'nai Elohim, it says the angels of heaven in the book of Enoch. But the B'nai Elohim always refers to the angelic host. So remember Seth, the whole Sethite theory,
right,
which comes about from Julius Africanus around the 4th century, that's a construct. And because when Jesus said it'll be like a day of no, they all know what he's talking about, because the bones of the giants are right there.
Right.
So, if you have an anti-supernatural view, Goliath, maybe there was something in the pituitary gland. I get that. Or Goliath was the offspring of fallen angels, which is my opinion.
Man, thank you so much for some great time. L.A. Marzulli, coolest name I've heard in a long time. .com, LAMarzulli.com.
You got it.
Thank you so much for being with me. I
Really
appreciate the
it.
friendship.
Thank you, Travis. Very cool.
Great. Thank you.